Hello everyone, it's Ethan here once again, and today I have a very special video. It's kind of a redone video that I've done before on my old channel, but now it's a new channel. So, throughout my life, I've liked a lot of different things. I've always loved sports, I've always loved music and video games and stuff like that, but there's always been two things I've always had a mutual love for. I can never decide which one I like more, which one I talk about more, which one I'm a bigger nerd about. And those two things, professional wrestling, as you've seen in my previous videos, and as you can see in my current video, and with the setup of my little studio down here, NASCAR racing. And since I deleted a lot of videos from my old channel, what I didn't delete is the Dirty Balls podcast, which you should go and watch. What I did delete was the videos where I showed off all of my NASCAR diecasts and NASCAR stuff. And so I thought, I should do that for the new channel. So, without further ado, you're going to now see my entire collection of NASCAR memorabilia. So, enjoy that. Okay, so I guess it would make sense to start down here in the basement since I was already recording the video down here anyway. First thing, it's kind of covered with some basement litter, but I've got this Dale Earnhardt Sr. framed picture here. I just never had, enough room to hang it up in my room. I might do that later. So we move over here. Here I have this Dale Earnhardt Jr. diecast from 2008. The AMP Mountain Dew National Guard car that is actually the reason why AMP is still my favorite energy drink, because it's the first one I tried because of product placement. So, you can never say product placement hasn't ever worked. That should be turned this way. And next up, here we have my all-time favorite NASCAR driver, my all-time favorite paint scheme, which is why it's predominantly featured in the studio where I make all my videos. This is Terry Labonte. He is just one of my favorite NASCAR drivers ever because he was so consistent. His 2 championships is the longest time between 2 championships of any driver ever. They're 12 years apart, 1984 and 96. And I just love this Kellogg's car, the Cornflakes car. I've got the shirt, the pit crew shirt. It's too big for me. I have to wear it with a sweater. But yep, so that's my all-time favorite NASCAR paint scheme. So there's 2 points in the trivia contest if I ever make one. Over here, we have the National Guard car, which was the other car that he drove in 2008. He had 2 cars, this one and this one, Dale Jr. that is. And this one's my least favorite of the 2, but I figured since I'm collecting a lot of different Dale Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr. stuff, I might as well get this one too. So nothing really special about this one. It's just part of the collection. Now over here, we have the Spark, the first ever NASCAR diecast I ever got. My mom and dad got it for me when they went to a race, and that's what sparked my collecting craze. I really like it. It's the Budweiser camouflage. Not too much to say about it. It's just a cool car. I think he ran it at Daytona, Dale Earnhardt Jr., that is. And speaking of Dale Jr., we've got this calendar right here and this clock that hasn't been working in a long time, but, it's right twice a day. And another picture. And a baseball signed by some crawdads. It's not racing related, but it's down here. Next up, you have this 44 here. I don't know if this ever actually raced. It's Dale Jarrett. I think it's more of just a collectible. I don't think it was actually a model of anything that was in a race. Then over here, we have this Rick Mast car, back when he drove the 1. Another Dale Earnhardt car. This is his classic 1998 car that he won the Daytona 500 in. And then here we have the Alan Kulwicki machine, who was tragically taken from us way too soon after a plane crash and was a champion. Could have been a multi-time champion, but we'll never know. And then over here we have Martin Truex Jr., one of his cars with the Chevy from before he blew up. Right now he's in a Ford. No. Right now he's in a Toyota. Can't believe I just said that. And, for years and years and years he was in a Chevy, and this was the last year he drove a Chevy before he switched to Toyota and became one of the best drivers of our generation. And then over here we have Chase Elliott. Again, he doesn't drive this anymore. He drives the 9, but he still has Napa as one of his primary sponsors. I really like this car, but I'm not really that much of a Chase Elliott fan. I mean, I like that he's the son of Bill Elliott, and second, third generation guys are always cool, so that's cool. But, I'm a Penske guy. Surprisingly, I don't really have any Penske cars, even though that's who I like. And then over here we have the M&M's car. As much as I hate Kyle Busch, I love the M&M's car. But of course, this is when this is Ken Schrader's version of the M&M's car. I've always really liked the M&M's cars. I think they just look good. You know, they're colorful, and I like yellow race cars. I feel like there's not enough yellow race cars out there. Then over here we have Casey Kane. Poor guy. Nobody remembers him anymore. He used to be good. Remember that? The Farmers Insurance car, which for such a lame sponsor, it was a pretty cool paint scheme. I mean, black and blue with the 5 all slanted, just like it is with Terry Labonte. And so, yeah, that was a cool car. This one, I don't have many stories about when I bought them, but because I don't remember most of them, but I do remember I bought this one in Atlanta when I went to the Xfinity and truck race there. So, once again, just like I said earlier, it's another M&M's car. And then here we have the Jimmy Johnson Superman car, which he, I believe, won the race in California. Don't quote me on that, but I think he did that. And there's some video games. Then up here we have another one of the M&M's car. This one's the patriotic one. I'm not sure if this is Ken Schrader or Elliott Sadler or not Sterling Martin, but there was several guys that drove M&M's cars. I like it. It's one of the few Pontiac Grand Prix in my collection. Can't believe Pontiac doesn't exist anymore. Here actually I can believe it. Over here we have, I forgot who this is. I don't think I knew who this was in the last video either. Tell me in the comments if you know, but it's the Mopar Dodge truck from the truck series, the series that I think has the best. You know, it's the developmental series, but it's really more fun to watch than the main thing. So for my wrestling people, it's like the NXT of NASCAR almost, you know. And then once these guys come up to the big time, they're not that good. Anyway, and down here we have the '98 Monte Carlo that Dale Earnhardt Jr. won the Xfinity Series championship in. And I forgot to mention that. And then that's just a Mountain Dew. Right here we have a Sundrop bottle adorned by Dale Earnhardt Sr. And I believe in one of my wrestling videos, I put it on Twitter and somebody asked me if that was a Mellow Yellow. So if you're that guy, it's a Sundrop. Now we're over here to the last one down here, and this is Steve Park. This car is really special because the very next week after Dale Earnhardt Sr. passed away in the Daytona 500, Steve Park won the race at Rockingham in this car. And it was one of his only wins. And, you know, it couldn't have been scripted any better if a race was scripted. It was a perfect ending. It was just perfect. And, you know, I just like the car. I wish Joey Logano would run something like this at Darlington since they have the whole throwback gimmick at Darlington. But I don't think he has yet. We'll get there. And I lied. I said that was the last thing, but I forgot that I didn't mention this shelf yet. So we got the Charlotte Motor Speedway pillow, and we got the Dale Earnhardt Jr. lunchbox. We have this old school Busch Grand National car that Darrell Waltrip drove with the old Mountain Dew logo. This is one of my more underrated cars. Nobody really has seen this one because a lot of those old Busch races don't have a lot of footage. You can find like grainy footage on YouTube in like 240p. Over here we have Casey Kane from his younger years when he drove the Dodge, which the Dodge is actually a good sponsor. You know, the Dodge dealers, Dodge. The Chevrolet Chevy and the Ford, as my friend Braxton always calls them, are not. But for some reason, the Dodge was always a good car. And over here we have another one of the M&M's cars. This one, I believe, was Ernie Irvan. Like I said, there have been so many people that have driven M&M's cars. I was just sitting here trying to think of a wrestling reference since that's my other thing on the channel. What's a gimmick that... It's like Doink the Clown. There's been like 15 Doinks. There's been a bunch of M&M's cars. Alright, so that's all that's in the basement. The rest of them are in my room, so let's go. I forgot. I didn't know this was... I keep forgetting stuff. I don't have a good memory. Before I get to my bedroom, there's a few in the living room. We have Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, everybody's favorite, the Rainbow Jeff Gordon car. He got a lot of shit for that back in the day. Another bigger version of that Alan Kulwicki car that I showed downstairs. And then we have the old Tide Ride and Mark Martin. And these are kind of, aside from that aside from the Terry Labonte ones downstairs. These are kind of my favorite ones, which is why I put them in the living room, because that's the ones I see the most. So these right here are the kind of my favorites of the collection. So get a good view of those. Alright, so now we're in my room, and this is going to be where a bulk of the video takes place. It's going to be quite a while spent in here, because I have lots and lots of race cars and other stuff. So, first off, we have this Ray Bestis car that was driven sometime in the 90s, I'm not sure exactly which year, by Sterling Marlin. And then we move over here, that's a Ford logo. And then we have the Exide Batteries car that was driven by Jeff Burton. I've always really liked the Exide cars, mainly because, I really like Jeff Burton, but also just the color scheme, the black with the pink and blue. Just, black and pink go great together. Shout out to the Hart family. And then the blue really just kind of adds into it. There's better versions later on where the fade is a little bit more fadey, and, it works better, but for early 90s or mid 90s, it was good for the time, So anyway, we move down here. This is a Bobby Labonte car, Terry Labonte's younger brother, who has also won a championship. First pair of brothers to do that. It's just the chassis, or the body. I don't have the whole thing. It's just the body, not the chassis. Then the lighting's kind of bad, so I'll pull these out. This one, I forgot who it is. But anyway, it's one of the Caterpillar cars. There's been a couple of different guys that have driven this. I don't know who drove it in the 96. It's too small and it won't focus to read that. So anyway, we're going to move on to this Dale Jarrett car, the number 32 White Rain machine. White Rain is a white trash brand of hair shampoo, if you didn't know. And this is just a gold car for Hendrick's 25th anniversary. And this is a seemingly normal, seemingly basing looking Richard Petty car until you open it up and it's a Pez dispenser. Speaking of Richard Petty, we're going to move down here to a Richard Petty car. This was driven at Charlotte Motor Speedway, as you can tell by the obvious plaque there. And it was towards the end of his career because it's a 90s car. Anyway, and then here we have Jeff Gordon. I put these right next to each other, symbolically, because Richard Petty's last race was Jeff Gordon's first race. It was at Atlanta. And, it's a smaller version of the car I showed earlier, the rainbow. It came with the plaque. I just thought it was pretty cool. And then, I really got to get down on the ground for these down here. We have this number 21 Citco machine. I like the bright orange. I can't tell. I think Waltrip. Michael Waltrip maybe. And one that I'm quite sure is Michael Waltrip is this one right here, the number 30 Pennzoil car. It's another just kind of plain and yellow, but I like yellow, like I said earlier. Not enough yellow on race cars. And then here we have the number 60. Don't know who drove it, but it's a cool looking car. And here we have the number 42 of Jamie McMurray, one of the more underrated guys that I used to really like. He won the Daytona 500 and won a couple of the big races, but could never just put together an entire championship year. So yeah, it's silver and black. Good color scheme there. Haviline, one of the several drivers that drove a Haviline car. And this one right here, that I also consider a Jamie McMurray car, even though it's not, it's a Sterling Marlin car, is the number 40 Coors Light car. But the reason why I consider it, and by the way, Coors Light is a terrible beer, but they sponsor a cool-looking car. And the reason why I consider this a McMurray car is because Jamie McMurray's first win in NASCAR was only in NASCAR Cup Series, was only his second start, and he was filling in for Sterling Marlin, who was either sick or injured. I can't remember which, but I do know that McMurray filled in and won that race. It was at Charlotte. My mom and dad were there. I was too young. Okay, now we're going to move over to the other side of this. And we have Steve Park again. The number 1, like I said, smaller version of earlier. And then here we have the earlier version of the Interstate car. We have the Dale Jarrett version. I like it. Green and black, the 18. Joe Gibbs Racing before Joe Gibbs Racing became the evil empire that it is today. Then over here we have the quite infamous Jeff Gordon Jurassic Park car. And for those of you that don't know, he won the All-Star race in this car one year, and when he did it, they found a bunch of these like things about the car that didn't necessarily break any rules, but they all kind of pushed the envelope and manipulated the rules and found loopholes and basically cheated without cheating. And they made the perfect car that was still legal. And then they had to like change the rule book significantly after the race. Then over here we have the, I had to pause for a minute to make sure it was the right version. We have the Ricky Craven Tide Ride. And this one's famous for lots and lots of years. The record's since been broken, but this was once a part of the closest finish in NASCAR history. It was at Darlington with Kurt Busch. If you ever have time to find that on YouTube, just search up Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch. It'll be the first thing there. It's one of the best finishes in NASCAR history. I wish I could have been there because I've been to Darlington. It's a great track. Then over here we have another Ken Schrader car. We have the Skull Bandit. My dad's favorite car of all time. He always loved all the Skull cars. Back when Harry Gant drove one, that was my dad's favorite driver. And Earnhardt too, because he loved Earnhardt too, but everybody did. Then here we have the number 2 car of Tim Richmond. If you ever get a chance to see the 30 for 30 that was done about Tim Richmond, it's one of the better 30 for 30s, I think, because I love racing and because it's a crazy story. If you don't know about Tim Richmond, look him up. He died of a disease that I don't want to talk about. Over here we have another Jeff Burton car. This is just a whole row of Jeff Burton cars, because that's Jeff Burton. This is Jeff Burton. That's also Jeff Burton. And hey, who's this? Oh yeah, it's Jeff Burton. So, there's part of my room. Now, let's move slightly over to right here. And let's focus the camera a little bit. So, we'll start at the bottom like we're Drake, and we'll go down here to this Derek Cope machine, the number 10, which very famously won the 1990 Daytona 500 when Dale Earnhardt was out front leading, about to finally win his Daytona 500 that had eluded him for so many years, and he ran over a bird. Got messed up, and then Derek Cope won the race in one of the biggest flukes in NASCAR history. Then over here we have a Ryan Newman piloted Alltel machine from back when Alltel was still a company. Y'all remember Alltel? Yeah, me neither. Anyway, Mobil 1 also sponsored it. Neat little car, white and black. And then one of the only Penske cars that I actually have is this Joey Logano machine right here. The Pennzoil, the 22, yellow and red. Good color scheme. The old Ford, because you can tell from the front end there. And then here we have this big, kid-friendly, non-Budweiser, generic Dale Earnhardt Jr. car. This bottle of Budweiser, and another one of those Dale Earnhardt Sundrop things. Actually, I have 2 of those. Hit your boy up with the right price, maybe you can have one of them. And here we have this in-the-box Dale Earnhardt little action figure thing with all his 7 NASCAR Winston Cup championship trophies. Then right here we have a Dale Jr. car that was driven in the Xfinity Series, which was then the Busch Series. We have this still full of beer Budweiser can of Dale Earnhardt Jr. that expired in 2006. Here we have another Dale Earnhardt Jr. Budweiser car, another Dale Earnhardt Jr. Xfinity Series car. It's the same one right there with the action figure, and then right there by itself, and then this Oreo car that, you guessed it, Dale Earnhardt Jr. also drove. And then here we have a Mike Skinner Lowe's car, the old Lowe's car before Jimmy Johnson had it. Sad story, Lowe's is no longer in the sport. I wish it was. Then we move over here to this Tony Stewart car. My least favorite Tony Stewart car. I always liked the classic Home Depot one. And then over here we have, just in quick succession here, Jeremy Mayfield, Michael Waltrip. Can't remember who this one was right here. And Dave Blaney. Not Ryan Blaney, Dave Blaney. And this Kevin Harvick trailer rig. Then we have some more Dale Earnhardt Sr. cars up here. Just a whole kind of little Dale Earnhardt Sr. area. We got this car. This one that he drove in the Winston in 1998. Another basic one, this car that he owned in the truck series that Mike Skinner drove. This teddy bear looking thing that Alan and Jennifer had made quite a bit of fun of when this video was on my old channel. And an empty Budweiser can, which has nothing to do with NASCAR. I just drunk a Budweiser one time and set the can there because I thought it fit with everything. And this Dale Earnhardt Sr. figure with the trophy and all that. This other Dale Earnhardt thing. Those two posters, the first Union 500 poster, a newspaper clipping from after he tragically died in 2001, and this Alan Kulwicki clock with all the Hooters girls. So, gotta catch my breath. I've been going a while with this. Moving swiftly on, we have a couple of Jeff Gordon posters. This one, this one, this one. And then we have some more beers. I don't know, whenever I have a brand of beer that I don't have in my room somewhere, I set it there. I know it's douchey and weird to do that, but I got it, so you make fun of me if you want. But here I have this. Why does my camera keep not focusing? Is it... Let me clean it a little bit. Okay, here we have this Dale Earnhardt Sr. No? I don't know. That could have been a Dale Earnhardt Jr. car from the Xfinity series, but it also could be a Dale Earnhardt Sr. car. I don't know about that one. Pretty sure, actually, because it's right next to another version of those two cars that I already showed you over there. So, yeah, that's probably Dale Earnhardt Jr. So, there's another one right there, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Mark Martin, Dale Sr. again, Ryan Blaney. I'm assuming Darrell Waltrip, though I'm not 100% sure. A trailer for Terry Labonte. And another car from Terry Labonte with this signature that may or may not be Terry Labonte's. I mean, the thing was only $10, so if that's a fake signature, oh well, I got burned out of $10, but there's another car. Then we have these TV guides, another Dale Earnhardt Jr. car, this one with the digital camo, this Lucky Dog Aaron's thing, some more cars down here, Ernie Irvan, no, not Michael McDowell. David Rudiman. What am I thinking? Yeah, David Rudiman. Whoever that could be. And then we have Rusty Wallace, and one of my all-time favorite paint schemes. I put it in my top 5. This classic Miller Genuine Draft car that's right next to the Miller Genuine Draft Racing Team hat. And this picture, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Then we have this Exide truck, and we have this 1999 number 88 Dale Jarrett machine that he won the championship with that year, and a Mark Martin random thing. So we are almost done. I only have a few more things. Alright, the last little set of things. Here we have this McMurray car that isn't really that great. Splitter's missing, spoiler's missing. But yeah, Crown Royal, good drink. And here we have another Jeff Burton car, one of the more cooler versions of the Exide car. The Chase Elliott 24 that I should have waited and just got the 9. The number 30 of oh man, like 3 or 4 different drivers drove this in 3 or 4 different years. Here, I'm just blanking on it right now. Then we have another Sterling Marlin car. The wheels are about to fall off of it. And Casey Kane again. Have some more small cars, a couple of Matt Kenseth cars. These 2 more Dale Earnhardt cars. This one that he ran in the Winston one year. Either 99 or 2000. A couple more Mark Martin cars, McMurray, Jimmy Johnson. A couple of Kevin Harvick rides. This little plush thing, some cards. I don't know why this Woody thing is here. I don't know. This right here, Share a Coke with Terry. Shout out to my dad. And then another Matt Kenseth thing. And that, besides these couple of posters up here, is all of my racing things. So that's been another video here. Thanks for watching. Peace.